All right, so if you're gearing up for the CAPM exam, you already know that just having a plan isn't enough to guarantee a win, right? The real magic, the thing that separates success from failure, is all about project controls, how they're documented and how they're monitored. And honestly, this is an area that trips up a ton of people. Let's dig into why. And this quote right here, it absolutely nails it. Look, anyone can write up a plan. The real skill and what the CAPM exam is really going to test you on is whether you can keep your eye on the ball. Can you monitor progress? Can you see when things are going off the rails? And most importantly, can you step in and fix it? It is all about control. So, Section 1, the monitoring challenge. Why is this topic so tough on the exam? Well, it all boils down to one thing: the huge gap between knowing a definition and knowing how to actually apply it in a real-world scenario. Let's break down the exact hurdles you're probably going to face. And here's the thing. So many people get stuck right here. You might be able to define a risk register or a Gantt chart in your sleep, but the exam isn't going to just ask for a definition. No way. It's going to throw a scenario at you and ask, okay, what's really happening here? It wants to see if you can connect the dots and understand how all these tools are used to keep a predictive, plan-based project on track. So let's be super clear about this. This isn't a vocabulary test. It is not about memorizing a bunch of terms. It's about being a detective. It's about looking at the data and being able to interpret the story that it's telling you about the project's health. And learning how to read that story, well, that's exactly what we're all about. Section 2, a framework for control. So how do you get good at this? You need a solid framework. And for any predictive project, that framework is built on one thing: rock-solid documentation. Let's talk about project artifacts. Think of them like the official logbook on a ship's voyage. They are all the documents and outputs. We're talking project charters, plans, registers, you name it, that create a paper trail. They prove where you are, where you've been, and where you're supposed to be going. They're literally your essential tools for tracking and staying in control. Okay, let's put this into practice. Picture this question on your exam. A project manager is digging through change logs, progress reports, and the project charter. What's the one name for all of these formal documents in a predictive project? If project artifacts popped into your head, you got it. That's exactly the kind of direct application you're going to see. All right, Section 3, decoding project performance. So we know what artifacts are, but now we have to understand what the data inside them is telling us. And that means we've got to talk about two of the biggest players on the field: cost and schedule variance. First up, we've got cost variance, or CV. And look, let's just forget about the complex math formulas for a second. The core question here is super simple. Are we spending more or less than we planned for the work we've done? That's it. It's your number one health check for the project's wallet. So you're basically looking at two things. On one side, you have your planned spending, the money you budgeted for the work that should have been finished by now. And on the other side, you have your actual spending, what you really paid for the work you performed so far. The gap between those two numbers tells you the whole story about your budget. So check out this classic exam-style scenario. A project's actual spending is higher than what was planned for this point. What's going on here? It's not a trick question. This is simply a cost-performance issue. You're spending more money than you plan to. Plain and simple, you are over budget. Okay, next up, schedule variance, or SV. And just like with cost, the idea is really straightforward. It answers one simple question: are we ahead of schedule, or are we falling behind? And it figures this out by comparing the work we've actually finished to the work we planned on finishing by this point. So here, you've got your planned progress. That's the value of the work that was supposed to be done. And then you have your actual progress, the value of the work that's really been completed. The difference between those two? That is your schedule variance. It tells you if you're on time or if you're playing catch-up. Here we go, another scenario straight from the exam playbook. A project manager realizes that the amount of work they planned to have done is more than what the team has actually completed. What does this tell you? The story's pretty clear, isn't it? You're not where you're supposed to be. You've got a scheduling problem, and that means you are behind schedule. And this right here is the big aha moment. See, project artifacts, cost variances, schedule variances, they're not just separate topics you need to memorize. They're all part of one big interconnected system. You use your artifacts, that structured documentation, to do the analysis that tells you if you're on track with cost and schedule. That is the heart of project control. Section 4, the exam coach's edge. And getting a handle on this integrated approach is really the secret sauce for passing the exam. That's why we do things differently. We don't just throw a dictionary of terms at you, we give you a framework to help you think like a real PM when the pressure's on. We don't just teach you about documentation. We train you to look at a tricky exam scenario and immediately see what's going on, to interpret what those performance indicators are telling you, to apply these ideas in real CAPM situations so you can spot the correct answer, not by guessing, but because you genuinely get what's happening in that project. So what you've just seen here, this was just a preview. It's a little taste of our structured, exam-focused approach. The full system connects all of these dots to risk, to quality, to change control, the whole shebang. The full project controls and performance monitoring framework with dozens more scenarios and practice questions, all designed to sharpen those interpretation skills, is waiting for you. It's all inside the Exam Coaches platform. So come on, let's get you ready for that exam.